Welcome to Right on Track, a songwriting podcast. Thanks to Tone for tuning in. I'm Demi Michelle Schwartz, and I'm thrilled you're joining me on my songwriting journey. So kick back and relax, don't fall flat, and remember, stay right on track. Hey everyone, welcome back to Right on Track. Joining me on the show today for a chat is Cherise Carver. Hi Cherise.
Hey, Demi, how are you?
I'm great, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much.
I'm Maydan. I'm very excited to have you. We're going to be chatting all about songwriting and pitching songs to artists, and I cannot wait to get into that. But first, I would love for you to share with the listeners a little about yourself and your journey in music so far.
Oh, absolutely. My name is Cherise Carver. I live in Arkansas. I'm from a small town called Nashville, Arkansas, and I used to joke that maybe I was born in the wrong Nashville because I started singing probably about when I was 9 years old and started writing songs when I was about 12. And I played piano by ear. And I used to perform anywhere I could. Being in a small town, it could be a beauty pageant or a festival, a fair, just anywhere where there was music and a microphone. I just wanted to be part of that scene. And so, fast forward to now, I picked up the guitar about 4 years ago and decided to start writing country songs that had just been in me for so long that I couldn't write on a piano. And I joke and say it's because I can't strum a piano, so I just didn't have that rhythm that was in me that I wanted to put into my music. So I spent off and on a lot through my life. I would do music and then I'd have to put it on hold for certain things, but I'd always come back to it. And at this point in my life, I'm back in it and releasing country songs and writing and also helping other songwriters get cuts with artists.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. What is your favorite thing about being a songwriter?
Oh my gosh, my favorite thing would be about you know what? It's this moment that happens, and you're a songwriter as well, so I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. There's this moment when you pick up an instrument or you hum a melody or some lyrics come out, and you just it's like feeling the magic. It's like something just you feel inspired or you get the chill bumps. You hit on something that you're so excited about that you can't wait to finish the song, and you just put yourself into it. You just give 150% to that. Those are the moments that I live for in songwriting.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think one of the coolest things about being a songwriter is you never know what your next song will be. I'm constantly being surprised about what's going to inspire me next and what genre I'm going to write next. And I think that unknown of the process keeps it so fun and unexpected from time to time because you have no idea what's going to inspire you. And I think that's why it's very important for songwriters to be open to inspiration because you never know where that can come from.
I completely agree with you. Sometimes you just it surprises you. You surprise yourself with what you come up with, and if you tell yourself, "Oh, I'm going to write a sad song today," like never tell yourself what you're going to write because it could turn into something completely different by the time you get through it. Right? I've had that happen so many times where I start a song one way and then I come up with a different hook, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, this hook's happy. I need to move this. This needs to go somewhere else and be like a different song." So I totally agree. We surprise ourselves every day.
Yeah, absolutely. So, speaking of pitching songs to artists, it all starts with the songwriting. And songwriters need to be at a certain skill level and knowledge level, craft level before pitching songs to artists. So, what are some of your top tips for songwriters out there who are interested in getting their songs cut by artists? What are some tips you have for them of improving their craft and getting to that stage?
Oh, absolutely. And everything you said is spot on. Because I do sometimes I'll have brand new songwriters want to pitch a song, and they're like, "Oh, I've written my first song and I want to pitch it," and then I'll hear the song, and my feedback to them is always, "You need to spend some time learning the craft." And there's only one way that I can really figure out that the how do you know that, right? Because you're like, how do you know when you're ready? Is it I've written 50 songs, 100 songs, one song? I say get feedback from people because really some people are naturally very, very gifted at this. And then some people it takes them a little bit longer. So there's not like a set time or set number of songs before you're like, oh, I'm ready to pitch. So the biggest feedback I could give is to get feedback and get feedback from people in the industry, not your friends and your family because they love you. That doesn't mean that they know how to critique a song professionally, but get that feedback. But if you're not to that point yet and you're just starting out, I definitely recommend immersing yourself in songwriting books, retreats. I went to an Andrea Stolpe retreat,
Me
which absolutely
too.
changed. Did you change it? It absolutely changed my life. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a life
same.
changing event. So, was it for you too? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of hers, and so, but what had happened to me is I had never actually, when I went to that retreat, I had never co-written with anyone, and I'd never really been around other songwriters before because I was just kind of in my own little world, just doing it, as a hobby or whatever. And that retreat I went to was the first time that someone was actually giving me feedback, and then I was thrown into how you've been there. You were thrown into these co-writes with complete strangers for like 2 or 3 hours, and then you perform the song. It's the wildest experience, right? It's stressful, but it's fun. And so yeah, that was like a eye opening thing for me. So here I'd been writing for years and never had anyone say, um, hey, yes, you should be doing this, or keep it as a hobby, or you should pursue this, whatever the answer would be. And that was some really good feedback for me to go to that retreat. So that was one thing I did. Another thing I did was I worked with a national publisher for several months. And I would meet with her every week and I would write songs. And like I would write a new song every week, whole thing, music, melody. I do, I write all the parts of the song and present it to her. And she would give me feedback. And almost every time it was pretty brutal. It wasn't pretty. I would get frustrated because I'm like, I cannot please this lady, and I kept trying, but it made me work. So the good news is if you get feedback, good or bad, the harsh feedback or the feedback that hurts, I feel like one of two things is going to happen. You either quit or you dig in. And I got to that point with that national publisher where I didn't feel like I was, meeting the expectations. And I remember I told Chris, I said, that's my partner in crime. I told Chris that I said, I'm going to write one more song for this lady and I'm going to give it all I have and I'm going to use all the tools that she's given me. And you know what? If it's not good enough, I can say I tried and I'll move on. I'll just be a hobbyist. But I wanted to know, do I have what it takes? Do I not? Because this is hard. It was kind of like heartbreaking every week to go and then just get told this isn't good enough. So I did. I dug in on Memorial Day weekend. I believe it was 2021, and it's kind of like the fight or flight song. Like this is it. She's gonna like it or hate it, and that I really was gonna let that song decide for me, and I did. And we were on a Zoom call, and she would always put her head down in her hands as I was playing. I would play the songs for her live on the piano or the guitar or whatever. And so she'd always had her head looking down. And I played this last song for her, and it was called Red Oak Tree. And I never will forget. She looked up into the camera and she was crying. And I thought, oh boy, I've really done it now. I thought, I'm trying to write the best song I've ever written, and this woman is upset. I thought I have really screwed up. And but but it was just the opposite. It was actually good, and she thought, she gave me some really really good feedback on that one, and so that was my like tipping point, so to speak. Of I put all my eggs in one basket. I said, this is it. This lady is a national publisher. She's worked with some of the best in the business, and but she said it was a really really strong song, and that was when I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I ended up then just deciding to work on music full time. I've been in corporate America most of my life. And I walked away from that and said, you know what? If I don't try it, then I'm always going to regret it. So I don't want to wake up one day and, be 90 years old and say, why didn't you just try? Just try. You can always go back to a job, right? You can always go to work. And that was part of my decision making process. It was those two things, working with the publisher and Andrea's retreat, that kind of said, you should go do this.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. What a great story. I agree with you that getting feedback is super important. Co-writing is also amazing because it's not just you writing the song, you're placed with other songwriters who have different perspectives on things. And the really nice thing about co-writing is working with people intentionally who kind of bring everything to the table. So, if you're really strong with lyrics, but you're not a musician, well, you can co write with somebody who's a musician and strong with melodies, and you'll get both of those covered. You can even get someone in the co write who has experience with production. So, when you're recording demos, you don't have to pay another producer to do that. It's all in the splits with the songwriting cuts and all that. So co-writing is really great for those reasons, but also just growing as a songwriter, working with others really helps you to think about the craft in different ways, learn different approaches to things because all songwriters approach things differently, so it'll give you new techniques and things like that. But the one thing that I think is so important, I think overlooked a lot, is the way to really fully understand what makes a good song is to be a big listener and immerse yourself in music, especially in the genre that you're hoping to pitch for. If that's pop or country or whatever, listen to the songs in that genre that are popular and ask yourself why. How are the lyrics? What's the melody like? What are the chord progressions like? How's the production? The spaces between lines. Are there the bridge, how's that work? There's so many different aspects to a song that if you sit there and listen to song after song after song, your brain is going to be a sponge and it's going to absorb all that. So, where reading books is amazing and going to retreats is great and co writing is great, being a listener and studying and listening to music not to just enjoy it, but to analyze it for the craft is a really great way to grow as a songwriter as well.
Absolutely. I totally agree with everything that you said. And I think it comes down to two things. The analytical part, which is what you're saying, it's like making a conscious effort to listen, figure it out. I believe too, this goes hand in hand with what you said. Um, Playing and singing, learning to play and sing hit songs, like because we do a lot of covers with my band. You know, we perform originals and covers. You will learn so much by playing the guitar, piano, and singing those hit songs. That's how I think I learned to write, was because I was a singer. I was a singer for many, many years, and then I just instinctually, I think it's analytical, and then it becomes instinctual once you have done it so long and listened so much and performed so many songs. Then I think you instinctually know, you form these. I let my body kind of tell me, like I said, whether it's chills or I feel it, something hits me. But that wouldn't be there if I hadn't done all the work, like you said, of listening and studying and learning and being analytical. Then it becomes kind of like, when you drive somewhere every day, the same place, you don't even know how you got there, you know? And so you're singing and you're looking for the melody, or you're looking for the words, and it just becomes an instinct eventually after you're doing all that work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely agree with singing a lot first. Before I started releasing a lot of original music, I did weekly covers on my YouTube channel. And looking back, some of those are probably extremely cringe. Nobody go watch them, but it's how I was able to grow. Like without doing that, like I would not have gotten to the place of writing and releasing my own music because doing that allowed me to develop my style because when you're doing cover songs, you're not the ways to do a cover song is to not just do it how the original artist did it. Like you're bringing your own twist to it. So by doing weekly covers like that, I was able to, grow as an artist and fully immerse myself in how songs are written and put together because I'm learning the lyrics, I'm learning the melody and the chords and all that. So I think performing is a really, really great way as well. So going off of that, let's shift into pitching now. So I would love for you to give the listeners a little more information about how you got into the position of these pitch opportunities and your Facebook group.
Absolutely. So when all that happened, like in 2021, is when I decided that I was going to do music full time. And but as a writer, I knew that I needed feedback, and I thought, you know what, if I need feedback, other people need feedback. So the idea came to me actually while I was at the retreat with Andrea Solpik, and I remember even telling people about it. I'm like, I want to create a Facebook page and our group, and I want it to be a place where we meet, maybe once a month or whatever, and we share our original songs and we just give each other feedback from other, so your peers are, helping you out. And that's exactly what it was. And so I started it in January of 2022, and it's the Pitch Ready listening sessions on Facebook. It's my private group, and you're a member. So I'm glad to have you as a member as well. And that's exactly what it was. And it was just this kind of educational thing for all of us to participate. And I may have done it a couple of times a month at first, and then I would do it once a month. And people would just send me their songs, and I would put them in disco and put the lyrics, and we'd spend an hour and a half, everybody on a Zoom call, just listening to songs and giving each other feedback just for fun. And I never really imagined it was going to turn into more than that, but it just evolved into that because at the same time I was doing that, I started releasing my own songs. And I started uh, doing Texas country, red dirt country music. That's what I was just naturally writing. And I was putting songs out to radio, and I started getting some chart placement, and some cool stuff was happening with that simultaneously. All this is going on. Well, because I was in the Texas country scene, I started meeting other artists, and I would go to things like the Texas Country Music Awards and, meet people. And I had a radio promoter for my first song. And so I would meet some of the other artists with that promoter. And one guy in particular is Chuck Weimer. And we had the same radio promoter. And I saw that he was going to be within an hour and a half of where I lived to a radio stop, and it's the same station that was also playing one of my songs, and I wanted to stop by and introduce myself at that radio to that radio DJ. So I reached out to Chuck and his wife Jamie, and I said, "Hey guys, I know we're both with the same, promoter. I was just wondering if I could meet you guys when you're at this in this town that's like an hour and a half from here. Can I take you to lunch? And we could just hang out." And they said, "We do. We have a few hours before our show. We can definitely meet you and hang out." So I met them at the radio station, and we went and had lunch. And then I brought chocolate chip cookies, and we had those out at the. We went to a park. It was like 103 degrees. It was so hot. It was like in Oklahoma. It was in Oklahoma, and I just remember it was so hot. And they were so sweet. And we went to a park, and we sat on a table out in the park, and I was still learning guitar. I'm talking new to guitar, like almost too embarrassed to bring my guitar. Very new at guitar. And and we just sat there and swapped songs, just me and him and his wife, and played back and forth. And I played some recordings for him, of something that sounded a little bit better than my playing at the time. And so that's how I got to know him. Well, fast forward from that, uh, I remember reaching out and asking him. It would probably be a year or two later after that, if he needed any songs, because I'm like, I've got this songwriting group. Do you need any songs? And he goes, actually, I do. He's like, I'm working on this particular EP, and I need these certain kinds of songs. They're like and I believe it was kind of deep, emotional, brooding kind of stuff. He just wanted to do something a little different from what he'd been doing. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna send you something. And so I tried to write something for him, and it just didn't feel right. So Chris told me, he said, you've got your redemption song. And I was like, oh yeah, I'd written this song Redemption about it was based on a true story. It was about my dad, who was an alcoholic and left when I was really, really young. And I wasn't really planning on sharing it with anybody. But I felt like, gosh, I told him I would try to write something for him. I can't be empty handed. So I sent him this song that I didn't know anyone would ever hear. And within a few minutes, his wife always kind of screens the songs first, and she wrote me back. She's like, "Can Chuck call you? In about 30 minutes or something." I'm like, "Sure." And he called me. He's like, "We'd like to do the song. What do we need to do to get it?" And I'm like, "That's it. You just ask." And that's kind of where it started. And so he picked up my song Redemption, and then I said, "Do you need more?" And he goes, "I do." So that at that point is whenever I went out to the group and I said, I've got an artist that needs songs. Does anybody want to submit stuff? And people started submitting things, and then I would send some their way. And he picked up another girl who's actually a very new songwriter in our group. She was very new, and he wanted to co-write on it. He liked the idea, but he wanted to work on it some more. And so she got a co-write out of the deal, being pretty much a brand new songwriter, which is unheard of, right? That's just one of those things, like right time, right place, right idea, right? She obviously was good enough out of the gate to get interest. So that was really cool. And then it just went from there. I'm like, okay, we got two cuts on an album. And so I just then started reaching out to other artists and started building it from there. And I get another artist to say that, they were looking for songs, and I would ask them if they wanted to come. I have a couple ways I do the pitches, and you've been in the group just a little while, but you've seen one of them. We got a brief out right now for a girl that I'm not telling everybody who she is, and people are just submitting the songs for review. So that's one way we do it, where you don't actually meet the artist. But I have another thing called the meet, write, and pitch, where you actually there's a select number of tickets that you can get, and you get to meet the artist on the Zoom call and ask them anything you want to ask them. And they talk for about an hour or so to everybody on the call. And then you take about 4 or 5 weeks and you go write a song for them based on the experience that you had talking to them, or whatever that you got from them that you think you could write a song about. And then you come back and you get to be on a Zoom call with them again as they review your songs and give you feedback and say whether they want to cut it, co-write, or they're going to pass. And we've had a lot of success with that so far, as well. We've gotten a lot of songs picked up.
That is so incredible, so, so exciting. Thank you for sharing all of that. Because you have done this for quite a while and have seen success with it, I'm curious your thoughts on demo recording. What level of quality do you feel is necessary when pitching songs to artists?
That is a great, great question. So I try to keep it as simple and affordable as possible. But I think at the very minimum, you need a really good vocal guitar or vocal piano at the minimum. That's what you need minimum. Now, I don't, have you heard of the Audigo? I don't know if you have one of those or not, but it's a little box that it does amazing recordings, just open air. Those will work too. It's like a step up from a voice memo, right? Because sometimes voice memos, it's not super clear what people are saying. But this little device is an Audigo. I forget how much they are. I think it might be a couple $100, and it records open air so well. So sometimes the Audigo demos are great as long as the vocalist is in. You want everybody to be in tune, right? You need an in tune vocalist, and an in tune instrument. And if you can find a singer that is expressive, I think that makes a really, some people can sing and hit the notes, but they're not expressive, right? We've all heard those people that, listening to them sing, it might sound more like watching paint dry if there's no expression in their vocal, but they're hitting the notes, but there's no emotion coming, right? Um, is you want that emotive vocal, and sometimes it's a different vocalist for different songs too. So even though you might have vocalists you use, sometimes you're like, oh, this person will work for this song, or this person will work for the other. Keep all of that in mind. Who can sing that particular song out of everybody that you work with that sings? So those would be my things: is emotive vocalist and a piano or a guitar.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm really happy you mentioned the emotion in the voice. And that's just something in general. When I'm listening to music, the dynamic expression and the vocal delivery is so important. And that's something that I have focused a ton on myself with my own music. Like when I listened to my first album, I love the album because it's my first album, but I can tell the emotional expression isn't really there because I wasn't a strong vocalist. I was more of a songwriter. But like my recent music, I've been extremely mindful of the vocal delivery and channeling the emotion of the song, and even on different lines, like lines that have different emotion tied to them, to have that emotional expression. I think that's so important. And that's just something that comes with time, just like anything else. So focusing on that during the demos is really important. And I'm also curious, from reviewing so many pitches, what do you think is one of the biggest mistakes that you see, whether with the demo recording or more specifically with the songwriting?
Yeah, so one of the biggest mistakes I see, well, this may not be exactly what you asked, but this is one of the things I see when people are pitching songs. One of the biggest mistakes I see is they're not following the instructions for the brief. They won't pitch the right sound or genre. So, like if a brief is asking for '90s country, but you submit something that sounds like pop country, that doesn't work, right? So that's one of the mistakes I see people make in the pitching. What was the other you asked about the demos?
Whether with demos or the songwriting itself.
Oh yes, so the biggest mistake. So yeah, the biggest mistake with demos I think is is when they have someone that can't sing in tune. We get that quite often sometimes. It's because, well, I know when people are trying to save money and I know it's expensive and everything like that. But if you have a vocalist that's out of tune or just doesn't have that great a voice or is not the right fit for that song, I think that can kill the deal for you. I think it's that important, right? That if because if as a listener and you listen to a lot of music, if you were to hear someone out of tune, it's hard for you to pay attention to the song or and to really absorb it and understand what they're saying and things like that. So that'd be probably one of the biggest things there. And then in songwriting, as far as I don't know if you call it mistakes as much as um, the one of the things that I think new songwriters a lot of times don't know instinctually because you're new is to show versus tell. So many, especially the new ones, they're telling you how to feel or telling you that they were sad or they're not showing you the visual. So I this is my recommendation that I give, and I also do private songwriting classes with clients, just one on one, and I often tell them, like when I'm writing, because I do country, so country is a lot of storytelling, and I literally see the video in my head when I'm writing a song. So I try to share that with people. I know everyone thinks differently, and so not everyone maybe even grasps what I'm talking about when I say see the video. But I think about if you're writing a song and the music video is playing, what would you see, and use that to write. It's what do you see, and use all of your senses. You don't have to use them all in the actual lyrics, but think about what does it taste like, feel like, smell like, all those senses that to get more descriptive writing. So I think I don't know if you call it mistakes, but I think songs could be improved if they would learn to show versus tell, and then use a really good singer for the demos. Those are probably my two biggest things.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I'm an author as well, and showing versatility is huge in fiction writing too. I just think when you're showing something to somebody that creates a deeper connection than just telling them. And I'm all for the sensory writing. That's something I learned from Andrea. She talks about that a lot, and we did a lot of that. So that as well. So much great information from you during our chat. This was so much fun. But just to wrap up, what advice do you have for any songwriters out there who are interested in pitching songs to artists that you haven't shared yet? Just to wrap up.
Oh, absolutely. So there are different ways to pitch to artists. Some people will reach out one on one, and you know what? I'm all for whatever works for you. That I see nothing wrong if there's an artist out there that you're like, I've got a song that's great for them. If you can get to them and get them to listen, I think more power to you. You know what? I support you 100% by going for it. Be a little bit shameless, but that's hard to do. So I kind of do recommend working with people that can open those doors for you to pitch songs with, because it's easier for me to get one of these artists to listen to your songs than it is for you to get them to listen to your song, right? Because you get with someone that's built a relationship with them. I can go out to an artist to artist. I'm already out there with them. I'm like one of them, and I'm asking, hey, are you looking for songs? Because they're busy and they don't know who to trust and they don't know where these songs are coming from. So if you find someone that does like a song plugger or a publisher or something, kind of like what I'm doing, I think that is is it is your is a better chance of getting an artist to hear your song if it does go through some type of proper channel like that, to get it where most people don't take unsolicited material for that reason, because they get bombarded and they don't know who to trust. And I also I know, and I've talked about this a little bit in the group, is because I do not accept any AI at all. I'm completely against AI in songwriting. I know AI has a place in the world, and that's great and fine. But as far as songwriting, I'm one of the few places that I even know of that does not want any AI, anything, no lyrics, no demos, no music, nothing, because I believe it's a human art. So I'm out here trying to protect that as well.
Thank you so much for that. I am the biggest AI hater. I hate it so much. So yeah, I think that's really important too. And that's something in general, like I'm trying to protect my reputation and things too. So with how much AI is in the world now, no matter what I'm doing as an author or a songwriter, I'm making sure like, are you guys using AI or like what's your stance on this? Because I don't want my name attached to anything with AI involvement. So I think that really shows a lot about a person too.
I totally agree with you. And usually, it seems to me the ones who are just promoting are like, "Oh, it's no big deal." When they're like, "Oh, it's my lyrics. It's no big deal." It's like, well, a lot of times those people don't play an instrument. They haven't put in the time. They don't do melody. They think that if, just because they write the lyrics, that it's there. That, oh, it's okay. Well, to me, what they're doing is it's like a slap in the face to those of us that have the calluses on our fingers that have spent years doing the craft. Right? It's easy to say it's no big deal, but if you've never done it, you know, you don't think it's any big deal to use a computer to write your song because you've never had to put in the work to do what the rest of the people that are saying this is bad have done. And not to mention it's stolen goods, right? So we all know that. Yeah. So I totally agree with you. I think we're that's my point of differentiation. If I had to say of anything, is I do know a lot of places will take it. I don't take it, and I hope that that will draw people to me.
Yeah.
I hope those real songwriters out there that haven't found a place to pitch their music, I hope that's the selling point that they go, this lady is standing for something. Like she is behind the real songwriter, the musician, the singer, the person that's doing the work. That's who I stand for. Because I'm like you, we don't want to associate ourselves with the people using AI because then they're like, well, they use it and you're writing with them, so you must be using it. We have to take a hard stance, and that's what we're doing. We're going to draw a line in the sand and say, you guys, if you're out there writing, come join the Facebook group. Pitch ready listening sessions. I want those real songwriters that are out there doing the work.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect note to end on. Can you please share with everybody where they can connect with you online and join the Facebook group if they're interested?
Absolutely. So on Facebook, it is just called Pitch Ready Listening Sessions. It is a private group. You have to answer like 4 or 5 questions, and there's a reason for that. One of them is about the use of AI because I'm trying to keep that out. So if you just answer those few questions, I do try to vet everyone as best I can, and try to keep it, a bunch of hardworking, honest people here. So I would love to have you guys any. So even if you're a beginner, that's fine. You can be a beginner to pro. It doesn't matter because if you start out as a beginner, you may end up getting a cut. Just like well, I had this other lady who she was brand new at songwriting, and she got a cut with me right out of the gate. So you never know. It could take years. It could it could happen quickly. It's just it's one of those crazy things. But yeah. And I have a website too for my music at CheriseCarver.com, and that's just CheriseCarver, and you can check out my music on any streaming platform. And I also play a lot of gigs around the Northwest Arkansas area.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much again for joining me on the show.
Thank you for having me. This has been a thrill.
Absolutely. Listeners, that's a wrap on this chat with Cherise. And of course, until next time,
Stay
stay
right
right
on
on
track.
track.